testing positive for COVID-19. However, the Office of the Prosecutor General says the complaint itself was fatally defective as it was filed by Attorney Rico Quicho, who is not the proper party to the case. A Philhealth official warns that they may have to make adjustments to their rate packages if Congress passes the bill empowering the President to defer proposed contribution rate hikes. But some lawmakers believe this does not have to be the case. To tell us more about this, we have Ria Fernandez. She's reporting live from Quezon City. Ria, could you tell us what went down at today's Congress hearing?
Charles House Speaker Lord Velasco's bill seeking to grant President Duterte the power to suspend Philhealth premium hikes has hurdled the Health Committee level today. 5 bills for the same purpose were filed before the panel. The panel then decided to adopt Velasco's proposal as the working bill under House Bill 8316. The President, in consultation with Secretaries of Finance and Health, can swiftly take action against such hikes in times of national emergency when public interest so requires. Philhealth and various labor groups support the measure, considering the continuing financial impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Philhealth Actuary Chief Nerissa Santiago notes that they have to make some adjustments in the implementation of their packages, such as the consulta due to low subsidy and the impending deferment of rate hikes. But Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo begged to differ, saying the deferment will only impact the state insurer to the extent of 500 million pesos, which, according to her, its 163 billion pesos reserve funds can easily cover. Before this, the House lawmakers debated for more or less an hour. Some of the matters they argued about included Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez's motion to have Congress act by itself on the deferment of the Philhealth premium increase instead of giving the power to the President. Anak Kalusugan Representative Mike Defensor also tried to forward his measure, which proposes to remove OFWs as mandatory contributors of Philhealth under the UHC law. But committee chairperson Helen Tan insisted that they have to only focus on the measure granting the President the power to defer premium rate hike for the time being due to its urgency. Charles, the panel is set to hold separate hearings on the other proposed amendments in the UHC law. Charles?
Thank you. Ria Fernandez reporting live from Quezon City. The Health Department says 14 close contacts of the first UK variant case in the Philippines have tested positive for COVID-19. However, the DOH clarifies that none of them contracted the new variant from Britain. 3 more co-passengers of the first patient have yet to be found. Meanwhile, 27 close contacts of the Filipina who is infected with the UK variant in Hong Kong also tested positive for the coronavirus disease. But they also did not possess the COVID-19 strain. Because of this, the department now believes that the OFW most likely got infected in Hong Kong, since her contacts in Cagayan do not have the UK variant. This also means that only 1 person in the Philippines has been confirmed to have the more contagious COVID variant. Sinovac has submitted the results of its Phase 3 interim trial to the FDA. FDA Director General Eric Domingo says the results of clinical trials in Turkey, Brazil, and Indonesia will be used as the basis for the possible grant of emergency use authorization in the Philippines. He adds that the results have been forwarded to the country's vaccine experts so that they can check the results and see whether they have any questions for the manufacturers.
Pag na-complete na po talaga lahat ng mga phase 3 trials ng isang vaccine, yun po ang ginagamit po nila para po sa application ng Certificate of Product Registration or yung full marketing authorization na po. Nakasalalay po doon yung kanyang approval, no? For registration. Kung talaga pong makita na merong safety issues, halimbawa or bababa ang yung kanya pong efficacy, doon po talaga maaari pong ma-deny yung kanilang licensing o yung certificate of product registration po nila.
President Joe Biden wasted little time signing a raft of executive orders on his first day on the job. Josh Wingrove talks more about this on Bloomberg Daybreak Asia.
COVID is the one that he wanted to highlight. This is the #1 priority for this administration. Just a week or two ago, they were talking about dual priorities or three-headed priorities, and now it's just COVID, which gives you a sense of how bad things are getting here with the pandemic in the U.S. So he's requiring wearing masks on federal property, on federal lands, on cross-border travel. This is sort of his turf. He's essentially begging Americans to wear one for at least 100 days everywhere else. So that is a big one. It's also taking some steps to extend freezes on student loan repayments, deferrals on foreclosures and evictions, this kind of thing, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. That, of course, includes rescinding a pretty controversial long-running pipeline permit on the Keystone XL pipeline. So he's doing all these things, but we are sort of seeing the pomp and circumstance of the day already give way a little bit to what at least has been the reality, and Republicans pushing back. A lot of what Biden wants to do depends on Congress. It's very unclear right now how much appetite there is in Congress for his brand of bipartisanship.
You mentioned already that Republicans had been pushing back a little bit when it came to that U.S. stimulus package. So I do wonder, how long will a honeymoon period last with Joe Biden, if there is a honeymoon period?
Yeah, I think the minutes are ticking away on it as we speak. You know, that COVID package, he wants something within days or weeks. Republicans historically so far in these talks have moved at the pace of weeks or months. You know, there's a lot of what Republicans would see as poison pills. Biden's 1.9 trillion package is an opening offer by their own admission, not really, a ram it through kind of situation. So we'll see. A lot hangs in the balance, in particular funding for testing, funding for vaccines. We had another story today. Biden's advisors are growing increasingly worried. This pandemic is worse than they thought, and worse yet than they thought even before that. The cases have more than doubled. The deaths have more than doubled daily since he won this election. He wanted to do a bunch of stuff in his first 100 days, but it looks like COVID is going to be the only thing on his agenda a lot of the time.
Former U.S. Ambassador to China, Gary Locke, says the inauguration of President Joe Biden marks a new day for diplomacy in the U.S. after Trump almost severed the country's ties with other nations. Bloomberg Daybreak Asia reports.
I really don't think it really means much at all. It was perhaps a little parting shot at the Trump administration, but really will have no impact. It's not going to affect President Biden's commitment to having candid but more constructive dialogue with China, along with all the other world leaders. This is a new day, a fresh day in terms of diplomacy for the United States with all of its allies, as well as countries around the world, including China.
So what does this mean for China policy exactly, especially when it comes to the broader Asia region? Because we had heard from Tony Blinken just yesterday in the confirmation hearing that he actually sided with President Trump on taking a tougher stance on China. We know that, of course, he was also the architect of the pivot to Asia, which has been sort of replaced with the Indo-Pacific strategy. What are we going to see there?
Well, obviously, the United States government and business leaders and civic groups have had some deep concerns about China's trade and economic policy, and certainly agreed, and I think the Trump administration recognized that, but their approach, their strategy was all wrong and resulted in a trade war, which really affected the American consumer and American businesses, and actually enhanced business operations for many of our allies around the world who have similar concerns about China's trade and economic policies and things like rule of law.
The military is expecting the University of the Philippines to respect higher authority regarding the entry of state forces in its campuses. This comes after the unilateral termination of the UP-DND Accord. Speaking with One News's The Chiefs, NTF-LCAC spokesperson Antonio Parlade admitted that they were already doing surveillance in UP campuses even before the termination of the agreement. Parlade added that the official revocation of the deal will help them follow up on their leads faster on which members of the UP community have ties with the CPP-NPA.
You cannot prevent the Defense Department and the security sector from not doing their job because you're bent on pursuing your academic autonomy.
Meanwhile, the UP Law Center's Institute for Human Rights has joined the calls to uphold the accord. In a statement, the institute maintains that the UP-DND Accord is a symbol of the sanctity of academic freedom and critical thinking. It added that the unceremonious termination of the deal violates the very values that the university was founded upon. ABS-CBN shows Asap Natin To and FPJ's The King can soon be aired on TV5. The longest-running variety show will be aired on TV5 starting Sunday, January 24. TV5 will also begin to air Fernando Poe Jr. movies this Sunday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Signal and TV5 President and CEO Robert Galang says he expects the collaboration between Signal, TV5, Brightlight Productions, and ABS-CBN to mark the start of greater cooperation among various industry players. He adds that the multiplayer partnership will, quote, usher in a new viewing experience for fans and subscribers alike. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join Sean Yao later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.